Hello. All right, let's get things set up here. I'm okay. I'm. It's pretty hot in here. I got the fan on and I got the window open. Hopefully that doesn't cause too much audio fuckery. Also, I'm gonna try using a controller. How is the audio? Game seems quiet to me, but I'm wondering if it's just because I have like three different audio sliders. Pumped up the game a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so we're on episode 2, The God Ventures. The Adventure of the Unbreakable Speckled Band.
In a corner of that small, dark room, Sholmes and I waited with bated breath. In time, there came from the ventilator a hiss and a soft, almost growl-like sound. Suddenly, Sholmes sprang into action, lashing furiously with his cane at a point in the darkness. "You see it, Wilson?" he yelled, his tense voice reverberating through the air. I raised my dark lantern shutter, and the room slowly came into view. Sholmes was staring intently at one particular corner.
Oh, this is our...
To me. The victim's most perplexing final words. The speckled band. I believe this is the terrible coil to which she referred, Wilson. In front of us was an enormous adder, its fangs bared as it threatened to strike. It truly was the most terrible speckled band I had ever seen.
Well, Wilson, that's our murder victim from last time. The 9th of January, on board the steamship Burya.
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. Pray, do excuse me. The cabin door was bolted from the inside when the man was killed. No marks to suggest the bolt was tampered with in any way. So, this would appear to be a locked room mystery. In his final moments, the victim scrawled a message on the floor. Almost certainly with the ink from this upset bottle. A Russian word. So the victim was a Russian man then. And the letters are well formed, suggesting he was compos mentis at the time. This is a most extraordinary script.
You fucking threw.
Not penned by the same hand as this message. In fact, I deduce it was written by someone of a different nationality. This paper seal was placed just prior to the incident, by the victim himself, I would venture. Well, what have we here?
Who are you, and what do you think you're doing here?
Da! No one must touch before maritime police come. We must wait!
Shh. That won't be necessary. You see, in less than 5 seconds from now, I will reveal the killer to you.
What? Don't be absurd. This is murder. I need cabin locked from inside.
Ah yes, the locked room. But that mystery is paper thin.
You don't mean the culprit is in there?
Who are you? And where have you come from?
I'm a great British consultant detective, the only one in the world. Herlock Sholmes. I presume you must have heard of me.
I'm keenly aware that you can hear, like, the sounds of me making screenshots. My head is throbbing. What's going on? Something's not right here. There's trouble in the air. Wait, I can't move. Ah! What the? Why am I in handcuffs? So, you wake up now, Oh. We had to drag you out of the wardrobe. I do not believe how you could not wake up. You are a true cold-blooded man. You found me then. Duh, we found you, and now you pay. Criminal. How long are you hiding in that tiny wardrobe, Sorry. Now you have been found. It is time to admit your crimes. Unless you want to find out how cold the ocean is, No. I'll tell you everything. There's only one thing I'd like to know from you. Isn't that... Why did you do it? Why did you take his life? Mr. Sato. Wait, what did you just say? Take his life? Where is he? Where's Kazuma? Ha! You pretend you do not know. You are a wolf in sheep's pelt. You are the killer. Do not try to make excuses. Huh? Kazuma-sama's body was discovered not long ago. Here, in this very cabin, that was bolted shut from the inside. His body? Please, do not try to tell us you are doing this terrible thing in your sleep. Kazuma's dead? But he can't be. In these handcuffs. Surely you don't think I have to know. Why did you take Kazuma-sama's life? Answer me, please. Are we gonna be just the fucking person accused of every crime in this game? Oh shit. Here we go again. It was just 2 short weeks ago. Are you sure about this? Won't we get in trouble? Don't you find it fun being a stowaway? Besides, how else could you come to England with me to study? It was really something else when they brought your luggage in here earlier, though. The way that Russian crewmate just tossed your traveling case onto the floor. I thought I was gonna die. Yes, I still can't quite believe that. I really didn't think you'd be able to fit inside my trunk. You must be even less of a man than you look. Hey. Honestly, I thought I broke every bone in my body. Well, it's about 50 days until we dock in Great Britain. But if you confine yourself to my cabin here, I don't expect anyone will discover you. I hope not. I get the feeling those Russians wouldn't be very forgiving of a stowaway. They're a sturdy bunch, that's for sure. What I want to know is, why do we need to keep it a secret from the young lady? From our faithful judicial assistant, Mikodoba, you mean? From your close friend, more to the point. Surely we can confide in her, couldn't we? I don't believe she'd give me away. No, but if she knew what we'd done, that would make her guilty by association. It's best that only you and I know about this. I suppose so. Anyway, it's about time that the steward is supposed to come and clean the cabin. I know it's cramped, but you'd better get in there, I think. Won't be long. And anyway, compared to hiding inside my traveling case, it'll be a breeze. Yes, but what if the steward decides to open the wardrobe for some reason? Then I'll be in for it. Stop worrying. I'll tell you what. Why don't you write "keep out" or something on this piece of paper? What? Then I can stick it over the wardrobe once you're inside. I don't know. We've only been at sea for about 15 days. How can this have happened? We're supposed to be going on this adventure to England together. We leave you at next port. Stay quiet until then. Don't make more trouble for yourself. Murderer. No, I'm not a murderer. Ah, you said before. You said you admit everything about your crimes. No, that's not right. I mean, yes, I did stow away on this ship, but murdering my best friend? No one else could have done it. Admit the truth. Susato-san. Please, tell me what happened. I need to know. Very well. But there's something I would like to ask of you, too. Those eyes. She looks like she's ready to destroy me. This nightmare is getting worse by the minute. I suppose all I can do is try to find out what really happened. He really has been killed, hasn't he? This isn't just a bad dream. And these handcuffs, they think I did it? They think I'm Kazuma's killer? When they found him, the cabin was locked from the inside. What do you mean? There's no access to the cabin via porthole window, and bolts on the door can't be operated from outside. In other words, after the crime, the culprit couldn't have escaped these four walls. What? Or to put it another way, the culprit can only have been someone inside this cabin. Or do you have some other explanation? Okay, so the first thing I'm thinking, if Ryunosuke did it, how could he be still inside the wardrobe with the paper on it? How did he die then? What happened exactly? Are you still going to deny the charge, even despite the circumstances? Please, Susato-chan. Fuck, you have to tell me. The cause of death is still undetermined. They don't know how he died? The ship's doctor is examining the body, but of course, he has no post-mortem analysis experience. I don't suppose we shall learn more until an expert has been consulted at our next port of call. So presumably that means there were no obvious external signs of injury, then. That's true, yes. Can anyone tell me what actually happened? I don't understand. Why would anyone want to kill Kazuma? Presumably, that's something you know the answer to better than anyone. Please. Whatever you say, you were here in the cabin after all. Well, yes, I was, but... He would always wake before dawn and do his training, first thing in the morning. I was waiting outside his cabin, as I have every day so far on this voyage. But this morning, he did not come. I could sense that he wouldn't. Does that mean he was already dead when Susada-san arrived at his cabin door, I wonder? I knocked, but there was no reply. Then I started to become worried, so I went to find a member of the crew. The crewman forced the cabin door open, and when we managed to get inside, there was Kazuma-sama, collapsed on the floor. And the white tape there now shows exactly where he was found, I suppose. I had no idea anything had happened. I must have been asleep in the wardrobe somehow. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just very hard to believe. This is all very hard for me to believe too, trust me. Now I've told you everything I know, so it's my turn to ask you a question. Yes, alright. My head feels so heavy. It's still throbbing like anything. Why are you even on board this ship, Naruto-san? You said something before about being a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, yes. I'm afraid that's true. It's been 2 weeks since we left Japan, ma'am, and I've been shut up in this cabin the entire time. I had no idea. But how could you have occupied Kazuma-sama's cabin for so long without him noticing? No. That would have been impossible, obviously. Yes, of course. Kazuma invited me. He wanted us to go to England together. He actually asked you? But why? I'm afraid I don't really know the reason myself. I don't understand. Kazuma, why do you want this? What's the real reason? Why go to such extreme lengths to smuggle me to England with you? It's an idea that's been on my mind ever since the end of that incredible trial. By the way, can you hear the rain and stuff in the background? Like, I can shut the window if you can. I think I told you then, didn't I? That you ought to become a lawyer yourself? Well, yes, you did say that, but I didn't think you were serious. You have a talent for it, I can assure you of that. But I've never really thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, that's something you can decide for yourself. London is at the spearhead of cultural development, the center of the world in many ways. There can't be any harm in seeing such an important place with your own eyes, can there? Well, no, definitely not, but on a personal level, if you were to become a lawyer, then what? Nothing. Forget it. Kazuma-sama is... He was always saying the same thing. That he wanted to change the Japanese legal system. Perhaps he thought he could do that with you. Yes, maybe. Something's still bothering me a little. The look in his eyes, then. It was darker than I've ever seen it before. Susada-san. I'm sorry that we kept it a secret from you. My stowing away on this ship, I mean. If I know Kazuma-sama, I expect he was trying to protect me. To avoid me becoming guilty by association. That's exactly right, yes. Word perfect, in fact. Alright, so... What happened last night? If you're not the culprit, then tell me. What happened last night, here in this cabin? Well, the thing is, I don't really remember. Kazuma brought me something to eat, just like he always did. And then I got myself into that wardrobe over there, just like I always did. After that, I fell asleep. Well, yes. So deeply that you didn't even stir when Kazuma-sama was killed? Well, yes. I know it sounds unbelievable. Really, I do. But it's the truth. If only I'd woken up, and perhaps I wouldn't be in this predicament. And for some reason, my head's still throbbing like anything. Really? Is something wrong? Oh, no, it's... Please, forget it. Susato-san, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I really don't want to doubt you. But the trouble is, there's no one else who could possibly have done this. Kazuma, I don't understand. Why? Why did this have to happen? Ugh, I can't take this. Don't try and go anywhere. You're the perpetrator of this crime. You can't leave. I can't allow that to happen. I'm sorry, but Kazuma was killed right under my nose here, and I didn't do anything to stop it. And now I'm supposed to just sit around, my hands tied, while whoever did this walks free? No, I can't allow that to happen. Well, what you propose to do then? I'm gonna investigate. I'm gonna find out exactly what happened here. I'm gonna work out who took Kazuma's life, and how and why they did it. So I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to excuse me. Ow! That was a Susato takedown. Susato what? What martial art form is that? I'm going to need you to prove it. Sorry? Prove it? Yes, your innocence. I need evidence. But how am I supposed to... Have you forgotten already? What you achieved just a few weeks ago. You successfully defended yourself in a court of law. Ah, I see. She's expecting me to present some conclusive evidence. I have to get Susato-san to believe me. I'll show her some evidence right now that proves I'm not guilty of this awful crime. I mean, I only have these two things of evidence. Let's look at this. Let's see, the remnants of the glue we used to stick this over the wardrobe doors. Although it wasn't proper glue, of course. We didn't have any of that with us. So I pulverized some rice into a paste and used that instead. To a stowaway like me, every single grain of rice represents precious rations. That's why I spread it as thinly as I could. I couldn't bear to waste any. This is the paper seal I wrote for the wardrobe. I remember really working hard to make it. But I'll never forget how Kazuma reacted. Do you expect the Russian crew to be able to read that? He said. Still, I was sure people would get the idea, even if they couldn't read it. So we used it anyway. And it worked. Don't know if the crew thought it was creepy or what, but no one opened the doors.
Yes!
Tell me, when I was discovered in the wardrobe before, was this piece of paper stuck over the doors? Oh, yes it was. I remember clearly. I thought so. Kazuma always put it in place whenever I went to sleep in there, just in case the cabin steward or another crew member decided to look inside. So naturally, he did the same last night as well. Of course. The gentleman who discovered you peeled that sign from the wardrobe doors before he opened them. But if I were truly the culprit, I couldn't have climbed back inside the wardrobe and stuck this on the outside of the doors on my own. Yes, that's quite true. In other words, it's impossible that I killed Kazuma. Well, even if you are sprawled hopelessly on the floor, I can see why Kazuma-sama thought so highly of you. Who put me on the floor in the first place, miss? Thank you, Susato-san. Now, do you think perhaps you could help me up? My hands are a bit fucked. Well, I don't see any reason why I should stop you from investigating in here, at least. Thank you. So you finally believe me? I'm sorry. No. What? I'm not sure yet. I can't rule out the possibility that you use some sort of conjuring trick to put the sign back in position. What does she think I am, a magician? For now, I suggest you investigate as thoroughly as possible in here. I'll do the same. Alright, let's get to work, Susato-san. Please don't misunderstand me. I still have my doubts. Oh. I shall be watching you, to make sure you do nothing that might disturb the crime scene. I wouldn't want you to use your conjuring tricks to destroy evidence, for example. Right. I should start investigating here. Examine everything I can. I'll avenge your death. Okay. So now we got our usual UI elements. Let's see. What's this say? These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Burya. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. You're thinking I'm a pet. Are you more of a dangerous object? Fuck. I can't decide. Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. Oh dear, that won't do. Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused, I forget to look around properly. Ah, yeah, that's not good. I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? I'm sure you're careful to look all around using left and right, aren't you? Why do I do that? Why do I do that? Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. Boop. Boop. Okay. The books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, all toppled the same way. And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea? Although he's fallen over as well. Yes, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked, and everything mown down at once. I wonder if perhaps it was Kazuma-sana doing his morning sword training, do you think? I seriously doubt it. Wait, how is he able to get his sword on board if weapons aren't allowed? Then perhaps it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder? Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. Who's messing with the crime scene now, miss? Okay. That's a very large traveling case, isn't it? Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me. Memories? What do you mean? Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought on board inside that case. I like her little, flash of a smile there. It says this way up in Japanese, which in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewman wouldn't have been able to read. I was turned over and over and over, and then I was tossed on the floor in here. Oh dear. Being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds. Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. Alright. Sigi. Or Saigi. The Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma. Yes, his calligraphy was always a reflection of his heart. Yet can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on this ship? Now you're gonna bring that up, aren't you? I can't win. Alright. I want to get, like, the less than obvious stuff out of the way first. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. London Diary. Poor Kazuma. Didn't even make it to his destination. Looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means... what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. Could be a valuable clue. Do you mind? That is out of the question. Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. But what if it's something important? Something relevant to the case? Alright. I won't read it. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either. But in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe this entire time, Naruto-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no, I suppose not. Though it must have been rather exciting, making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. This is... yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? Sounds almost magical. Shall we give it a little try? Yes! In the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lovely Japanese people. No, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy. That's all. I love her. Okay. That's Kazuma-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. I suppose that just shows how important it was to him. Now he's gone. But I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. There's nothing on the table at all. Plate and cutlery are all over the floor for some reason. Yes, strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still... No, wait a minute. What is it? That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after dinner at all. So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kazuma-sama. No. That's my dinner from last night. Roast chicken. It was really tasty. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But did you eat it on the floor here? I'm not a dog. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how did the plate end up on the floor? But Kazuma-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he? No, that's right. So he didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me. Oh no. Does that mean poor Kazuma-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible. Ugh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Knife isn't bloodied. What is that? What do you think this is? Looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing was, it appears to have been broken clean in two. Glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from a kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him. Would he? I mean, he carried you around with him. And the mark beside it, what is it, I wonder? It has a sort of brick-like hue. Yes, you're right. It's the color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. Did Kazuma write that before he died? Looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Or I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage. Poor Kazuma-sama. No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it. I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of clue in his final moments. Was he? I'm sorry, partner. But I can't read your writing. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruto-san. What? Then what language is it? Pains me to admit, but I don't know. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? Perhaps I should see what this Russian crewman makes of the scene of the crime. Excuse me? What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes. But it's not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking investigator for information about his crime? Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. It might have useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So, last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Niet, of course not. Now back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. The only other thing I can think of... This! I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. A hole from which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, it's a ventilator, if that's what it is. Looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside. That is true. Perhaps it's that rain and spray don't find their way when the seas are rough. Or something like that. I suppose. Maybe that's it. Hello! When... the skeleton appears. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he... You've noticed the man too, have you? I've no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious. And tall. Suspiciously tall. Naruto-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And he's investigating Kazuma's desk. Or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. Am I just imagining it? Or does she look almost uncontrollably excited? By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case, if you press A on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. Excuse me. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh. This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings! I hope I haven't kept you long. Yes! What exactly were you doing on his desk just now? Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst adventuring towards foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least. But how the deuce did I know of that, perhaps? It was really most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madame. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being, as you are, a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake, and now you travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. I mean, to be fair, fuck the Crystal Tower. Nothing, I mean... Okay, we do need the Crystal Tower, but... And, when the beribboned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Final Fantasy joke. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you're talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma. Susato, come on! You know I'm Japanese! And you're plotting a revolution, too. It's shameful behavior, Naruto-san. Absolutely wicked. No, listen. There's no way I fucking... Could you stop that? Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary. Obviously. Oh. Forgive me. And as for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came to your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing towards foreign climes, you do find yourself That is the only thing you got right. Yes, maybe. Ha! There you have it, you see. What do you make of that, Well, to be honest... The ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with bracy certitude, and more often than not, I'm right. I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I am none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable Sherlock Sholmes. So, it's really you, the actual Sherlock Sholmes. The very same, the inimitable, actual Sherlock Sholmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world? Naruto-san. Of course I do. There's no one who hasn't heard of him. What planet have I been living on, then? You must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? Alright, first things first. Mr. Sholmes, what do you make of this? Shh, quiet. When I'm ruminating in the course of my deductions, nothing must disturb my mind. An Indian curry, perhaps. What's he ruminating about? The lunch menu? So, you're a great detective? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I am not the one and only Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Erlock, was it? No, I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, Ranced magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Ah yes, here it is. The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you've started to think you really are a detective? Make no mistake here, I'm not the poor deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backwards. Backwards? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer? Do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy as of late. Why, this very moment I'm returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? Can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, to me, is to me a science. Logical reasoning in its purest form. A science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle reactions in his subject. Well, we could do that. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arms, sleeves, furrows in the skin, all these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction. And fame. That what makes me the one and only. The Herlock Sholmes. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything? My dear fellow! Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Herlock Sholmes. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. When I became anxious about Cosmo-sama this morning, I summoned all of the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes! Luckily for everyone, the great detective, Herlock Sholmes, was on board. Any handcuffs seemed to be an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, 2 facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh, really? 2 facts, you say? Tell us, please. What 2 facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin? First, let us be precise. 2 facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The 2 facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the crime scene are as follows. Number 1, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. 2, that's still one finger. The victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Oh, hold on, Mr. Sholmes. What makes you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Garderob to be the name of the killer, a certain Robert Gard, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe there at least, where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian, too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Our school uniforms are the... Oh my god, I'm the smartest person in this room. Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of Russian people? I had no idea. And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim in the message, and I'd analyze it for possible hidden details. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Kazuma had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, thank you. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes? Real quick. A little smudge there. What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all that. Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. How many times... I'm not Russian, and I don't speak Russian. And we talked about your deduction before? Things you concluded about me, I mean? Ah, a famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details I was hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and the assassination of 16 part. Ah yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline. How do we get the paper on a boat? Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Kazuma a Russian? It sounds like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was a Russian because of what Kazuma-sama wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you. Violin Bolshevik. No, how could that be me? I don't look anything like him. Just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learnt to revolutionize your appearance as well. And, might I add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination blowing up the Crystal Tower? Ah yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds of the man has perpetrated thus far and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about his revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? And what about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyways? This Afghanistan place. Take the paper for yourself, as a little memento of this great deduction. Thank you. I absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. Cast your eye over it sometimes if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. Couldn't hope to read it, but I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Maybe there might be a picture or two. It's me reading the New Yorker. Hoochie mama. This is interesting. Have you found something relevant, Naruto-san? Well, no, I mean, it looks like it might be interesting. I can't read a single word, I'm afraid. Nor can I, but look at this picture. Look at this photograph. Perhaps it's about a beautiful young Russian princess, do you think? She is very pretty, isn't she? I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, I'm glad you've noticed this article. Get out of my cutaway. You're not welcome here, Sholmes. Allow me to give you a short summary of its contents. Oh, thank you. Pops up everywhere, this Mr. Sholmes. It's about the disappearance of a young lady last night. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. During a performance in Shanghai, the famous dancer was reported missing. She is, of course, the talented, young Nikolina Pavlova. Why are Russian names so hard to remember? Hey, Millie, how you doing, cutie? It appeared the woman was in costume when she was found to be missing from her dressing room. Wearing that diamond tiara you see pictured, which is worth some 20,000 rubles. Oh, how much is 20,000 rubles? Millie moment. You truly are the silly. I have no idea, but I'm quite sure it must be an unbelievable sum of money. Susada-san's eyes are shining like diamonds themselves. The tiara is property of the Novovich Ballet. It would seem the director is beside herself with worry. I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. They've requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain. Could this be another case of Russian fleeing his or her country? It does seem to be the Russian thing to do. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruto. Also, Millie, I feel bad because I'm not staying on top of things. How was the clothes that me and girl got you? How did they all fit well? I had to get that jacket imported from Japan, so. I'm afraid I can't read a word of Russian. Yes! Perfect. I'm glad you like it, hon. I have no idea what any of this says. The pair of you floundering is a sorry sight. Allow me to offer some assistance. An article on the front page of this newspaper is concerned with a fearsome Russian mercenary. Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. Yes, you told us that before. It reveals also that those who see the man's beard with their own eyes never live to tell the tale. Don't worry about it, Dad. It's always, like, my pleasure to help a fellow trans girl, like, you know. I did, like, a little, like, wiggly jig in my chair. So, construe the word from that you will. He is fearsome. Well, presumably the newspaper photographer was alright, wasn't he? The solution is obvious, of course. If he despises his beard to that degree, he only needs to shave it off. I'm not quite sure that's the problem, Mr. Sholmes. So what were you doing on his desk, like a goddamn koala? Ah yes, the victim. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. He had a computer. You see that the victim was engaged in penning some text. London Diary. Cosmo was keeping notes of the trip. Ah, but I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic, and something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've already read it? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Well, you're about to know what a Susanoo takedown is. Susanoo-san? Aren't you gonna throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Nagaoda-san. What on earth do you mean? Is it only gonna be me? To return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim, it would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray, be precise as to the details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, Banzai, Mikado, Nado Nado. I trust you're suitably impressed. But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. So was that all that shone off from before then? If you'd be so kind as to show me, I'd be happy to read it for you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madame. Final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray, go on. Second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice up there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least. Do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe, and if I am still too long, seasickness takes hold. Oh, I suppose you're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to? Yeah, this is a locked room boat mystery. Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exhaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate. Hence, the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps that we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. What? But why? A simple glance at your wrist should reveal the answer. Well, please. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No. There's no point trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. What? You just said it, only a moment ago. Dear me, you're clearly misguided. Oh, I have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that too. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know? Not really. So what? Were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His sense of humor is as twisted as his name. Naruto-san, what are you just standing there for? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? There's no way I can... Ah, god damn it! Do you mind? After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? As if you gave me any choice in the matter. I think we still have some investigation. We should finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door. Good idea. Situation doesn't look good for me. There are still things I can do to help myself. I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this. And bring the real culprit to justice. Okay. I want to take a look. Is there anything we missed? Oh, the door. When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had been firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt, not particularly sturdy, and it just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel, the culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt from across the room in a situation like this. Yes, that is a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. But the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There'd be no possibility of using a needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Oh, look over there. The crewman, do you mean? He wasn't there before, was he? That's what I thought. Well, we tried talking to him. Probably because I'm likely to get yelled at again. But I suppose I could try. That guy looks familiar. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? Oh, no, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help but feeling I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, yes. You're right, he does look familiar. Excuse me, sir? Yes. What can I do for you? Hello. Inspector? I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hasanaga. You don't have a towel, don't wipe the blood on your white... Ah ha ha. Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. Nearly stopped, I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of this crew and board this ship. Again? You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there is anything I can do to help you, please ask. Never expect to see this man on board. Perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. So what are your special orders this time, Inspector? Yes, and why are you dressed as a member of the crew? I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I take full responsibility. For what? I don't have an attorney's badge, I just have a student pin. My orders were to act as Asogi-san's bodyguard. It was Minister of Justice Jigoku who pushed for this overseas study tour to go ahead. And he entrusted me with ensuring that Asogi-san reached Great Britain without being assassinated. Assassinated? How could that even have been a possibility? I'm not sure. But these are complicated times. There are tensions between the world's greatest powers. Minister Jigoku said we should be prepared for all eventualities. It's incredible. I don't believe it. Kazuma-san was assassinated? Obviously, we couldn't give Asogi-san a viable security escort. Which is why I'm undercover now, posing as one of the crew. I see. And I didn't take my eyes off him the entire time we've been on board, from morning until night, every day. But I never imagined it would happen here, inside his own cabin. Not here on the first-class deck. I failed miserably at my assignment, and Asogi-san is dead as the result. I'm a disgrace. All I can do is humbly apologize. Inspector? So if there's anything at all I can do to help now, just say the word. Can we go investigate, please? Doing what we can to investigate Kazuma's death ourselves. I thought you might be. You didn't do it, did you? You're not the killer? Of course not. We'd really like to investigate the cabin next door. Yes, so we need to be allowed out of this cabin. I'm sorry. You've been deemed a risk to the ship's safety. If you move to even touch the handle of the cabin door, the stormy-looking seaman there would surely snap your neck in two. I suppose I'm not just a stowaway now. I think I'm a murderer as well. Would it be possible to give me something to work with, do you think? I'm gonna need something persuasive. What do you mean? If I had a solid reason why the next door cabin should be investigated, for example, I'd do everything I could to persuade the captain to allow it. Really, I'd lay my life on the line if I had to. But I don't see how... There may be a way. Think of how you tried to persuade me of your innocence, by presenting me with a piece of evidence that you already had in your possession. Just the same as when you were in court. You must have done it many times during your trial. Simply select the Present panel and choose some evidence that Inspector Hasanaga could use. Which we just got. My collar pen. Inspector, can I show you this? What the? Is that the fabled Yume University pin badge? And I'm not sure if it's really fabled exactly, but... So, you're a genuine student, then? Sorry. Nothing like me with my regular schooling. There's something much greater. Is that what you were trying to say? Can I have my badge back, please? What's that? It's Kazuma's diary. Just before he died, Kazuma-sama wrote something rather strange in his diary. Strange? In what way? He wrote, what looks like some kind of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? That is strange. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what he meant by that. But what I'd like to know is... Don't tell me. The ventilator, is it? You're very astute, Inspector. Ventilator clearly joins to the next door cabin. That's right. So if we can investigate in there, we might be able to work out what that speckled band was. Alright, then. Can't leave this cabin at the moment. I'm stuck here until we arrive at the next port. The captain has given me strict orders to guard the scene of the crime, you see. I have to entrust the investigation to you. Really? You're willing to do that? Yes, as long as you don't leave the first-class cabin area. I'm afraid I can't remove those handcuffs, though. But what about the captain? Aren't you going against his direct orders? I'm a man of my word. And I promise you that I'll lay my life on the line if that's what it takes to convince the captain. After all, I failed to keep Asogi-san safe. This is the least I can do. Thank you. Let's seize the moment then, Naruto-san. Just select move, and we can leave this cabin at last. Move. Alright, let's see what we can find out. Aww. What the fuck is with that cheese? Whew, finally out of that cabin. I have to admit, this isn't quite what I was expecting. It's less spacious out here than I thought it would be. This is the most luxurious accommodation. Yes, indeed. Kazuma-sama was being sent on this study tour by the government. That's why he was being put up in a first-class cabin. That is a round piece of cheese. But I could get it. Like, I'm smarter than that. I can get that cheese. Even still, this is about twice as large as my accommodation in steerage. Really? That must be awful. Oh, look over there. It's another crewman keeping watch. And he looks enormous, even if he is sitting down. The door next to him leads to the second-class accommodation. I suppose he's making sure that no one comes in here who shouldn't. I suppose... like people in handcuffs? You look like a little boy visiting a toy shop for the first time. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. You've been at sea for 2 weeks. I've been in that room for 2 weeks. box inside his trunk when I first came aboard, and ever since then, I've been shut up inside that little wardrobe. Must have been a very trying time for you. Please don't give me that pitying look. Okay. I want that cheese. Give me the 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 cheese! Ah, a trap for catching mice. See, that's the thing. Mice are stupid. I'm smarter. We have plenty of those back home in Japan, although they seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait. Let me see. Yes, I think that's what is called cheese. It's made from the milk of cows. Cheese? I wonder what that tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruto-san. The trap will snap shut on your fingers. Really? But... I suppose you're right. What if I'm really fast? You weren't actually going to try it, were you? All I've had to eat for the past couple weeks is Cosmo's leftovers. You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe. Poor you. I'll find a little snack for you later. I want the cheese! Give me the cheese! What do you think this is? It's a very pleasing shape, isn't it? That's the emergency alarm. It's probably best not to touch it. Oh, an alarm. It says, press only in times of emergency. Looks as though it sets alarm bells ringing all over the ship and brings the vessel to a complete stop. Oh, this I have to see. What are you doing? You mustn't touch it. But this is an emergency situation. Just look at these handcuffs. You know full well that's not what the alarm is for. If you were to bring this vessel to a standstill for no good reason, you'd be in an even worse situation. I wish everything was just stop. The ship included. If you have to do something foolish, at least make it something that doesn't affect anyone else. This looks like a plan of the SS Burya. Shows each deck. Look. The Burya is a large-scale steamship with a triple-skinned hull. What a marvel of engineering. Well, it's been playing on my mind for a while now, actually, but how is that such a huge lump of metal just doesn't sink to the bottom of the ocean? Oh, it's really quite simple, Naruto-san. It is? Well, consider the Japanese archipelago. The islands of Japan? Yes, they're not metal, but they're enormous lumps of earth, many, many times larger than this ship. And they don't sink, do they? They've been floating happily on the seas since the gods created them. Well, I suppose so. And then the game gets the Edgeworth logic connecting minigame where you have to realize the only way to get the cheese is to stop the boat and make the trap trip over. Ship protocols. It looks like the ship's log. Should we have a little look through it? The writing's so neat and precise. Every detail about the voyage has been meticulously recorded. You wouldn't expect a rough and ready sailor to have such beautiful handwriting. And nothing. No reaction at all. Thought he might appreciate the compliment. I'm not sure that rough and ready is much of a compliment, Naruto-san, even to a sailor. Anyway, last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there is nothing to report. That's the sailor that was in our room, well, Kazuma's room, did get kind of testy when we said that nothing happened last night. So I'm wondering if something did happen last night and he just didn't record it. That's the way to the second class area. Something wrong? I was thinking about making a run for it. Just for a moment. Things aren't exactly going well for me. I might be wrong, but I imagine the moment you reach for the handle of the door, that burly seaman would surely shoot you dead. Oh dear. I'm sorry. Perhaps I went a little too far there. No, I started it with my talk of running away. And there's no way I could run away while Cosmo's death remains a mystery anyway. Hello, sir. Excuse me, but can I ask you something? You? You little... I thought that said stowaway motherfucker. You little stowaway motherfucker. That wasn't a good start, was it? Alright, let me try instead. Good day, Mr. Sailor. I'm so sorry to trouble you, but could I perhaps ask something of you? You? You little third-class lady's maid? Oh. We seem to have caught this sailor on a bad day, Susato-san. I'm not a sailor. My mother gave me name. What the fuck is beef stroganoff? I am senior crewman, beef stroganoff. The best thing is just to avoid eye contact, I think. Mr. Stroganoff, about this first-class cabin area. Here we are in finest part of Moriyashi steamship, for very important persons. What sort of very important persons? Government officials, kings and queens traveling in secret, many important persons. That is why I am always guarding this place. Gosh, that's amazing. But somehow I let stupid stowaway inside. I want to pick you up and throw you into ocean, but Stroganoff is not an animal. Thank you. If I may, I was wondering, is the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's currently occupied? Susato-san, did you understand that? It sounded like, da. I think it's probably Russian for yes. Or no. Genius. It is not permitted to visit other cabins without invitation. Well, sounds like there's somebody in the next door cabin at least. Yes. It's tantalizing. Like that cheese! What if we... Okay, look. I'll hold down the trap. You grab the cheese. We can split it. Could you tell us who's traveling in the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's? His name is Mr. Grimsby Roylott. He is a very important Western gentleman. A Western gentleman? Do not think about it. He has nothing to do with the murder of Student Boy. How can you be so sure of that? Mr. Roylott is an authentic Western gentleman. Such man would have no interest in lowly student from insignificant Far East Islands. Is everyone racist? Like, when we get is the third case, it's gonna be like, shit, man, you go off and eat your fish or something. Like, fuck off. Can you tell us when Mr. Roylott came aboard? That is not your business. Come to think of it, even though we've been at sea for 2 weeks now, and I've been in Cosmo's cabin the entire time, I've never once heard anything from the next door cabin, or even felt like there's anyone in there. Well, presumably, since this gentleman is occupying one of the first-class cabins, he must be rather important. Is that right? That is not your business. Do you know what happened last night? You didn't watch here all the time, Mr. Seaman Stroganoff? Da, all the time. So criminals like you cannot come in, or get out. I wonder, could you tell us anything about last night and all? It is sad about Student Boy. Were you on watch last night as well? Of course. And did you notice anything at the time? Anything unusual? Susada-san, did you understand that? It was clearly a no. I saw nothing unusual. Nothing at all. You didn't hear any strange noises? Or sense anything was wrong in some way? I said no. Sorry. I'm not so sure. I could have sworn that he wouldn't catch my eye for a moment there. This is enough. I cannot say more now. Oh. It is time for me to report to Captain. You must return to cabin. Yes. Alright. Bulkhead to second class area staying locked at all times. You escape when the lobster whistles on top of the mountain. Or as the English say, when the pigs fly. Yes, I understand. Good. Now we can investigate this area properly. Shall we? Definitely. Since there's new dialogue for this. There's a pen with it too. Sure that's the ship's log. Look here. Last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there's nothing to report. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break because I can feel my throat starting to close in. I need a drink of water. In fact, I'm gonna make some tea. We just got a whole bunch of new tea packets. So I'm going to, stretchy. No, I've just been talking for the past hour and a half. So I will be right back. Let me put up the usual music. Alright, I'll be right back. I've made tea. Millie, you are cute as hell. I still remember the first picture I saw of you when you got all dolled up that day. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm so jealous of her. Like, you wear goals. Like... Let me see if I have this somewhere. This one... Emoticons. Okay. Let's try and get into this room then. This is it. It's the cabin next to ours. The one the ventilator connects to. Yes, the ventilator from which Kazuma-san wrote that speckled band was emerging. Maybe whoever's in the cabin can help us solve that particular mystery. Let's ask. No answer. We're out of luck, it seems. There's no one in there to help with our inquiries. Sholmes should be in there. Little bitch. Hot! Tea's still hot. Ah! What was that? Came from inside the cabin. Such a high-pitched scream. It must have been a woman. Stand aside. I'm about to break the door down. Mr. Sholmes! I shan't be stopped. When the fit is on me, I revel in kicking doors off their hinges. Please, wait, Mr. Sholmes. The door doesn't appear to be bolted. It doesn't? And how the deuce can I dispatch this muscular urge? What, pray, can I kick? I think we should go in. This is no time to think about stress relief. Oh! Who? Tucker is startled too. I'm trying to have the mic muted so he doesn't, like, peek at every fucking time, but holy shit. Wrong button. Tucker, I know you're mad I turned your squeaky toy into tea, but it's really good tea. Now shush. Who are you? A Western gentleman. This man looks Russian to me. We heard a woman scream. A woman? Don't be absurd. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin. True. This old man does appear to be the only person in here. In that case... Who just screamed? Get out. All of you. Now. Please excuse the intrusion, but... You're Mr. Grimsby Roylott. Grimsby Roylott? Yes, that's me. And you are? I'm the one and only, the actual Herlock Sholmes. You've heard of me, no doubt. No. I'm a great detective among great detectives, one who adorns the cover of popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. The man uses that magazine like a business card. A detective? I do not trust detectives. We distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. Hold on, real quick. Want to save my tea bag. Hot! Spoon. Hot. Man, Isabel, why don't you just do this downstairs? Oh, it's because I'm fucking stupid. We distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. But there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe this time. So might I be bold as to ask you to open that small traveling case? Ah, don't be stupid. How could anyone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk. Don't look at me. Oh my! Did you see that, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes! The case just shook! Leave, now. Otherwise, I'll call the steward. So this is Cosmo's neighbor, Mr. Grimsby Roylott. There's no doubt about it. This strange Russian man is hiding something. Couldn't agree more. Let's see if... Can you read my mind? What are you doing in there? Sholmes. Do you have a moment, please, Mr. Sholmes? You need only address me as Sholmes. That's what I just did, isn't it? Well then, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in there? Why, I was resting, of course. Resting? Indeed, I was contemplating our sea voyage from the confines of the wardrobe whilst waiting for the inevitable time that you would need to call my great powers of deduction to service. Oh! And it would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come, and so have I. Am I mistaken? Well, no, actually. You're spot on. For once. I don't know if I trust any deduction he makes. Our Russian host in this cabin, Mr. Roylott, is clearly trying to hide something. And do you know what the most effective weapon is to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Why, the truth, of course. Though I suppose it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively used for Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russian will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it? Oh, yes! Please! Okay, hold on, let me take a sip. What you are about to see may astound you. For I am about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Could this man be a more hackneyed portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? From time to time it occurs to me. Is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness, or Russian on account of his dubiousness? I really don't think either of those things should be occurring to you. Or anyone. That's right. And Mr. Sholmes. I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but I once read, it is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment. Shh. I must have complete silence. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that? Ah, just as I thought. Yes, I have quite made up my mind now. There can be no other explanation that accommodates all the facts. Mr. Roylott, I have reached two Is that a word? I have reached two incontrovertible conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you're about to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? Huh? And number two, the other conclusion I have drawn, you are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervous tension as you realize you have been discovered. Does it not? Oh, Naruto-san. I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Shome's great deductions with my own eyes. That was a great deduction. Nothing can deceive Mr. Shomes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about a person. What? What ineffable twaddle! I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Sherlock... Sorry, I was almost shot by Arthur Conan Doyle's estate. The adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. And now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his great deduction firsthand. This is like a dream come true. I can hardly believe it, but all the color is drained from Mr. Roylott's face. It looks like somehow both Mr. Shome's conclusions were right. How could I possibly know such things, you wish to say? Very well then. I shall elucidate. I shall explain how it was I arrived at this particular pair of conclusions. So I cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery. Let us aboard the train of reasoning. Put plainly, let's work through my deductions together. The game is afoot. So the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place, is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we must ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away that copious beard you sport. Now moving on. The question then begged is this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Regard, if you will, this morning's newspaper. In particular, the fascinating front-page article. Which, it would appear, you have also read, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. I mean, he kinda looks alike. As you cannot fail to observe, the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard. Having noticed the article yourself, you decided to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, Violin Bolshevik. Not that I've heard of you myself, you understand. Now, as for my second conclusion... You are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime? Over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott. Taken unawares, people have propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. And I assure you, the eye speaks so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. Yes, in that traveling case. It is time, I think, that the case be opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside, as we ask? By estimation? A young lady, perhaps. One slight enough to fit therein. Don't be absurd. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? Dear me, we are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refuse to open your traveling case can be equally found in the pages of this newspaper. For there is another, most stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page. Renowned prima ballerina of Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us to one conclusion. Your crime is that of abduction. And according to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this Russian enigma, Eleminsky. Susato-san? That wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it? Well, stories are full of Mr. Sholmes' brilliant deductions, you know. But that did seem a little different somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes, could you come over here a moment? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about your deductions. Would you mind? Not at all. Go on. Well, to start with, here's a newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but these two men look nothing like each other. Yes, I recall our discussion earlier. At the time, I believe I told you that the man in the is a revolutionary. Well, able to revolutionize his own appearance. In fairness to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Roylott does look more like this man than you do. That's not the point. And another thing, one more thing. The part about him abducting the ballerina, indeed, truly a startling revelation. I believe, I'm glad that Susato is also like, okay, yeah, this is kind of weird. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. Not just at first glance, it is too small, clearly. You're lucky to fit a 5-year-old in that case, even if you pushed really hard. I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she? You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, if she's 15, then 10 years' worth of her would be poking out from that case. Some years ago, I read something pertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain litheness in their bodies. Vinegar? For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself to contort oneself into the confines of such a small case. Oh, dear. You might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Sholmes. This whole thing is turning into a circus. Mr. Naruto, something occurred to me about Mr. Sholmes' deductions just now. I think his powers of observation are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of the matter almost instantly. I've taken my medicine. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seem a little off. Your idea of a little may be a little off itself, Ms. Susato. Just one or two keywords in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think? Switch some keywords in his deductions. But very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Sholmes' great deduction. Precisely the thought that was going through my own mind. This man is a lot of work. At times, I wonder how anyone puts up with me. It's not that funny. And you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists? What the fuck? What? Where are your handcuffs? Huh? I feel they may hinder your ability to follow me in our dance of deduction. I don't believe it! Mr. Sholmes, you're a marvel. And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrists when we are finished. I'm not worried. In fact, I'd rather stay like this. Let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is how to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Devious looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously. What catches the eye in the first place? Is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. We ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away that copious beard you sport. I'm not sure. Would you really use shear like that to cut off a beard? I doubt it's something I'll ever have to worry about. It doesn't quite sit right with me, though. It doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Roylott either. Which means, I suppose, that the deduction is wrong. Let's try to switch a key word in there, Naruto-san, and see if it helps matters. How? I think we should start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Roylott. What if it's really his beard he intended to use those shears on? Exactly. If we do manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Sholmes' deduction better, then what? Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands. I'm the one doing... Well, anyway, let's see if there's anything we could even use to switch around in that last sentence. What exactly is Mr. Roylott going to use those enormous shears for? Coat buttons... Oh. What the? What's this? It looks like a cascade of stunning golden locks. No, the color is not the point. The point is, what's it doing on the back of Mr. Roylott's head? And how is it growing out from underneath his thick black hair? Well, yes, that's true. So stunningly beautiful and stunningly surprising. Something's definitely not right here.
Yes!
You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks you sport. Indeed, you have identified the precise details intending to... Sholmes, shut the fuck up. Such lush golden hair certainly does not befit an old man. It's the second case, Millie. You're not a man at all. You're a woman, and judging from the length and sheen of your hair. One still very much in her youth. Oh no. If only I had managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected. Question being begged is this: why would you desire to rid yourself of these magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on this matter. Sure, it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. Oh, that was a shock. I had no idea the old man was really a young woman in disguise, did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that? Yes, it was a surprise, Naruto-san. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Sorry? You look like you're in your element as you dance around the room, deducing the facts with Mr. Sholmes. I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. This is strictly busy. Now, say no more. Well, anyway, let's focus on this next part of his deduction. The evidence that he's picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now. He, or rather she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary. I suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now. Let's switch the evidence for something else. Something that fits the facts as we now understand them. For some reason, this woman needed to try and hide her true identity. Feels like yep.
Yes!
The evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. That's right, you hit the nail on the head. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of Novovich Ballet's prima ballerina. Miss Nikolina Pavlova. Oh, God, are you okay? Oh, she's cute. You're right. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. But please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. Alright. Now what were you doing wrong? The real revolutionary? The real revolutionary got wet while I was boiling him, so... He's in the dryer! Well, why didn't you say so? He's probably dry by now. You are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime? Over there. Yes. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. It's a traveling case. I didn't inspect the room before going to Sholmes. So clearly she can't be inside that traveling case as well. No, that's right. So she was unabducted at all. In which case, what is the crime this young woman is apparently committing? It seemed going to have to step in and fix the great detective's mistake again. Seemed to look pleased. Do you like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Sholmes? Stop it. Anyway, there must be something else here that shows what this woman is up to.
Yes!
The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Novovich Ballet, is it not? Indeed, it would appear to be identical to the tiara pictured here in this newspaper article. And if the reporting is to be believed, it's an item worth 20,000 rubles. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no. Yes, you left your ballet troupe, unlawfully taking their precious tiara with you. I have no one. No family, no friends. I'm all alone, and I need money. But I did not steal the tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an Earl of Prussia. It belongs to me. This girl is only 15 years old, and she's run away all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I will tell you everything. There is no point in hiding it now. Come, come, let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery? What do you mean? You have staunchly refused to open this traveling case of yours in our presence. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there exists some reason why you wish for it to remain closed. Is that not so, Miss Pavlova? My dear girl, there is no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case, even before I ever laid eyes on them. You thought I was a child. We're not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we only need to follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He's completely changed tact with his deduction now. I think he's adapting his logic to the changing circumstances. Maybe, but why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all of this? It's just a wild guess, surely. Oh, do you think so? Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her. Still, Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself. There has to be another reason why she wouldn't open her case. You have to see somewhere in the same area if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn. Whatever she has hidden inside that case, it should be revealed by following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. Maybe she was also carrying a little stowaway with her as well.
Yes!
Because there's no pets allowed. The reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Inside that case of yours is something forbidden from carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time, but no weapon or other dangerous item would move of its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova. Inside your traveling case is the last item listed as forbidden in the vessel's rules of passage. A pet. This feels like bullying. Yeah, it kind of is, but, you know, it works. So clearly, you aren't who you said you were. No, I am not Grimsby Roylott. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you said was correct. You absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel. Couldn't have been easy. Iberia is a huge steamship with a vast crew. Could she really have snuck on board without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman. You intended to sever all links to your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside? That veritable tinkling of a bell? Why none other than the fuck me. None other than this young lady, naturally. More like a full set of pipes, if you ask me. I was so scared when I ran away in Shanghai. I was sure they would come looking for me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, disgust myself, so no one would recognize me. As a result, you transformed yourself into that questionable old man? I see. I put on the fur hat and fake beard. Then, just before you came in here, I saw in the newspaper, right on the page, there was a picture of me. I was so frightened, I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearances completely, they would find me. So I decided to cut all my hair as fastly as possible. I picked up the scissors in my hand, and that precise moment, we walked in through the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that, from time to time. Are those two even talking about the same thing? There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? You're right. It's my dear friend inside. My only friend in the whole world. Please, don't tell anyone. If the captain finds out, if you say to any of the crew... Your secret is safe with us, I assure you. But in return, you must tell us, in as much detail as you can muster, about the events of last night. Yes, alright. I will tell you. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? Wasn't it something, Mr. Sholmes' great deduction? It was certainly something, yes. I'm just not entirely sure what. But at least, Miss Pavlova has agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, yes? What? Observe your wrists. Fuck you, Sholmes. Your hands are cuffed again. True to my word, I have restored your shackles. When and why? There is still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say, can't be helped at the moment. Can't it? Really? Let's listen to what Miss Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the speckled band that Kazuma wrote about in his diary really was. Let's examine the room real quick. Let's see. Don't touch. Huh? I will tell you what I know about last night. But please, you must not touch my things. How do you say, forbid it. Hypocrite. Okay, fine. I guess we have to talk to her first. So what happened last night? Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night? One of the crewmen told me this morning when I was eating breakfast. The man who died, he was a friend of mine. Oh, that's why we're trying to find out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night? Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example? Perhaps people talking? Perhaps the ship was absorbed in a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed if that had happened. Miss Pavlova? Is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me. Oh, I see. You've run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novovich Ballet? Yes. I'm traveling to Great Britain, and from there, I want to go to America. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. We'll start a new life. You wish to forget? Challenging proposition. When you have that striking tiara as a reminder. But the tiara is mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novovich Ballet gives us only a little food and water, and we must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. So you ran away to protect yourself? Yes. And the crew of this ship, they have all been kind to me. They let me come on board, and they said I could hide in this cabin. If that is indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova, it creates a most intriguing conundrum. Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Mr. Naruhodo? Me? Oh, well, yes, of course. I think we should hear her explanation. To what conundrum, I'm not sure, but... we're holding off on finding out what the friend is going to be. Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. God, I feel so bad for her. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel. However, the SS Buria stopped by no port last night. That's it! So where did you come from? How is it that you come to be aboard? Now that I think about it, the crewmen outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked them about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard. Did seem to be hiding something. An angel descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry? What was that? It is how the Russian newspaper described one of my performances. And that is how I came here too. I descended from the heavens, because I am an angel. Considering English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mr. Sholmes once said, I never can resist a touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to detection. Words once said about myself. A quote from a wonderfully extravagant advertisement for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, in fact. Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyways, doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened. Alright. What's the friend? I hope it's a rat. I don't think animals are allowed on board according to the rules of passage. Oh, please, don't tell any of the crew. If they found my precious, then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard, no doubt. So reassuring, Mr. Holmes. What sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy? It is, isn't it? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? Ha! You credit Russia as a land with small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there, then? You may well ask. I have no idea. You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerinas' friends. Isn't it obvious? It must be a chicken. Considering the benefits. A rousing wake-up call, daily fresh eggs, and when adversity strikes, it could satisfy the needs of sustenance. So you'd eat your friends. I'll remember that. Well, it would appear this friend's identity is a closely guarded secret not to be revealed. She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. Maybe she might be able to shed some light on it. This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary? Yes. and he wrote in it last night before he died. Something a little unusual. It reads, I can hear a faint whistling sound, and then a few minutes later, what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Speckled band? I don't understand. Strange, isn't it? The ventilator he mentions joins right to this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. Miss Pavlova? Has something occurred to you? Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean anything to you? Or the whistling sound, perhaps? No. I don't know anything. Oh. Excuse me, Mr. Roylott. Yes? What? Wow, she's fast. Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to the captain's quarters at once. Please. Alright, I will come now. What? You must leave. Now. Oh no, it's fine. Don't mind us. Yes, please don't worry yourself, Mr. Roylott. Get out! The passengers set out, or do you want me to throw you out? Looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity. So we lost our chance. Having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin, we are unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we are quite literally picked up and thrown into the passageway outside. I think that's going to be it for me today. This is a good stopping point, I think. I like it. It's a neat change of pace from the usual stuff. Let's put that back in there. Sholmes, I don't know what I expected from Sholmes. I don't want to say that I don't like him, but something about the attitude with him being like, I don't know. Just like, yes, I was right all along. You know. Like, I'm assuming, like, over time, like, my guess is that over time he's gonna kind of get humbled by this. But, like, I am enjoying, like, the present he brings in. And I like this. This is, like, a very, like, it's a good way to introduce the moving, like, the investigation mechanics. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying this. It's fun. I managed to not hurt my throat too much with my chatting. So I think we're doing pretty alright, I think. I'm looking forward to doing more. I don't think that we're going to be doing a stream tomorrow, just because, like, so on Fridays I've been doing my shifts in the morning, And then, like, basically I'm working 9 to 5 on Fridays, and then coming home and doing a stream at 7 just kind of kills me. So, yeah. I'm thinking the new schedule might be Mondays and Thursdays, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, this was fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to doing more. Next stream should hopefully be Monday. We'll see how I'm feeling, but I am reasonably confident about it. Yeah. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's good to see you, Millie. The silliest in chat. Hope you all sleep well. Remember to take your medicine. Drink water, brush your teeth, go to bed on time, all that sort of stuff. Love you guys. Hope you have a nice night. Mwah. Let me get him. There we go. Night night.